Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Love you.
I love you, man. Thank you. Well, I'm Jason Yoakum. I'm a director slash pastor slash all that over at the children's ministry. I take care of the middle schoolers, high schoolers over at the Lamps Fellowship. It's been a passion of mine since I was saved. The way I got saved was my children. My sister took my two oldest kids to Awana. Okay, Awana's really cool. It's like a children's ministry thing. They just jam you full of verses, and they introduce you to Jesus. And my entire life, I've always been anti-religious, church and everything else. But when they came back and that excitement was in their eyes, I wanted to see what was this, because the joy that they had, I've never given them. Never. I've never been able to see the joy, the authentic joy that they had the day they came back. So I was like, okay, that's cool. They just enjoyed it, man. Maybe they played some games or something. Like, I don't know. Second time they went, third time they went, I had to go see what was going on, right? I want to make sure there wasn't people holding snakes or rolling on the floor, talking in tongues. Whatever, man. I just wanted to make sure, because I've heard about that. But when I stepped into the church, I knew all my nonsense was done. I knew all those days of partying were done. And I knew it, which is why I ran. I ran as far away from that place as I could. But it kept calling me back. And some of you have heard my testimony. I was very abused as a child. I was sexually molested, passed around from truck driver to truck driver from the age of remembrance to, I think I was like 7 or 8. I lived a very brutal life, in and out of jail, all sorts of crazy stuff. When I went to church and I got saved, God put a thing in me. He put something in me. I never liked kids. Like, I had my own. I didn't want one because of my own history. I didn't want anything to do with it. But when Mike Miranda came up to me, he was the leader of the Awana ministry, and he put his arm around me and he said, he had cancer at the time. We didn't know it. He did. He put his arm around me and he said, "Hey, I don't got a lot of time left in this place, and I need a successor. I need somebody that has a heart and a passion for God and to take over this ministry." And I was like, "Bro, I could totally help you find somebody. Like, I'm really good at finding people. Like, I could totally do this for you, man." And he's looked right past me and he's like, "No, you're the man. You're the guy." And I'm like, "Dude, like, nah, I've never done children's ministry. Like, I'm not interested." And he's like, "No, you have something that draws them in. And with your past," he's like, you could, this is you. He's like, "I prayed on it. I've had all these guys." He's like, "You're the guy." And so I did it. And since 2012, I love that song, by the way. Since 2012 until this day, this is all I've done. Children ministry, youth ministry, I'm all in it. Because here's the thing. This is the truth, guys. And there's no women in here. I'm going to speak very honest and very bluntly. We have something in us that is so primal that God has placed in us to be not in charge, but to be a protector over. I'm so tired of the old wives' tales. Oh, there's nothing like a mother's love. Dude, show me that in the Bible. There's nothing like a father's love. That's what's in the Bible. That's what's in there. There's nothing like a father's love. As a matter of fact, the Father loved us so much that when He looked down and He seen us by ourselves, He's like, "Whoa, that's not a good situation going on down there. We need to give Him a help me." And I say this, guys. I was in a slump this past week. I mean, I was dogging it hard, and I couldn't get out, and I didn't know why. I was like, and I'm like, we take that step back and we go, all right, hold on, what's that closet sin? Like, what's going on? Like, no, I'm not doing that. Wait, maybe I'm not treating my kids right. No, I'm okay in that area. So you go to your friends like, "Hey, man, do I feel off to you?" Like, "No, there's something off." And I'm like, "Man, I can't figure it out, man. Like, what is it?" And I'm dogging it. I can't even show up, and you get to that point where you're so frustrated and you can't figure out what's that poking that thing going on in your life. And so what's the first action we do? Anger. It's the first trigger, right? And it's like, So anybody who comes in contact with you, it's automatically a trigger. You're no longer responding to situations and people. You're now reacting to them. And so there I am. And I'm sitting there. It's Thursday, and I'm like, I missed youth group because I'm like, I don't want to bring my toxicity to this place. Like, I'd rather not do that and live in my own filth than to bring my toxicity to people who need hope and joy. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm miserable. I'm dying on the inside. I'm like, I should be at the youth group right now. It's Wednesday night. I should be there. It rolls into Thursday. I'm even lower than I've been. And I'm hitting my knees, man. I'm like, Lord, please, there has to be something. Give me something. And so I'm driving to work, and when I'm listening to 107.9, and all of a sudden I hear this message in Zechariah. I think it was like Zechariah 1 or 2. And so I look into it, but I open up to 3. And I'm like, and I'm reading it, and all of a sudden I realize something. Remember in the story of Job? Satan and God are talking, right? And it kind of blows you away because you're like, how could Satan be in heaven? Like, wasn't he cast out? Like, and you're wondering, right? And you're like, okay, well, let's just listen to this little vignette. And so you're listening to it, you're reading the story, you're listening to it play out, and Satan is saying, hey, I'm just, and like God just like calls all his angels to counsel for some reason, right? And so he's like, and he sees Satan there, and he goes, hey, Satan, what are you doing, man? And he's like, I'm just walking around, checking out the earth, seeing what I can get myself into. And God, he calls out his Job. He's like, hey, have you tried my servant Job? Have you tested him? He's a good dude, no, he's stout, righteous man. And Satan goes, yeah, but you know what? That's only because you have a hedge of protection around him. That's the only reason he loves you. You take that away and he'll curse you. And so God goes, okay, but don't touch him. You can do whatever you want to him, but don't touch him. So he goes and he wipes everything out, man. Takes his kids, his livestock, all his land. Just decimates this man completely. Now, I'm not Job. I would have been crushed, or I would have been out. But not Job. And so then you see this picture of Satan again in heaven with God. And he's like, hey, did you check Job out? I haven't heard him curse me yet. And he's kind of mocking him, right? And Satan goes, oh, that's because, man, you touch a man's health, you touch his body, then you got him. Then you have him. Remove the hedge. Let me touch his body, and I guarantee you he'll curse you. God goes, so be it, but you can't take his life. And I hope you're listening to this, because if you're really listening to this, man, you should be having flashbacks right now of all the times this Satan has came after you, and yet you're still sitting here in this chair because he hasn't been able to take your life. So here's Job. He gets these boils. He's just covered. He has a broken piece of pottery, and he's scraping his boils. His wife comes in, man, won't you just curse God and die? Like, yeah, thanks, honey. His best friends are saying, dude, what did you do, man? Like, did you move the property line? Like, what did you do? Who you conniving, man? What dirty stuff are you doing that God is doing this to you? And he's like, I'm not doing anything, man. I don't even know what's going on. I wish I was never born. And then God shows up. And the rest is history. But that was the only time that I've ever heard that story play out. But it's not the only time. Because God says that he's constantly up there accusing us before him. This is going to be a treat for you. Because I actually found another one. God brought me to yet another passage where Satan is here doing this again. Not with Job this time, but Joshua the high priest. Okay? This is where it gets good. So it says in Zechariah 3:1, and he showed Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, which is Jesus, and Satan standing at the right hand to resist him. So you have another picture here. But yet, this time, the human isn't on the earth like Job was. He's standing in heaven with God, with Jesus, and with Satan. The high priest. The high priest, you've seen all the movies, right? You've seen all the pictures. They wore those big old, huge, like, robes. They were always pressed. Everything was immaculate to the little crease in their immaculate, right? And he's standing there. And so we see this, and we see the slanderer, Satan himself. And then when Satan talks, so check this out. When Satan talks to us about God, he lies. Every word that comes out of his mouth is an absolute lie. But when he talks to God about us, everything is truth. Have you seen what Jason did today? Are you kidding me? This is your son. This is the guy. Did you hear what he did? Did you not notice when he turned that blind eye? Do you not know where he's come from? And yet this is him. This is your son, right? And he's sitting here. And he goes, and so verse 2. And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan. Even the Lord who has chosen Jerusalem rebukes thee. Is this not the brand that I plucked out of the fire? Sorry, I'm King James. I kind of go old school. So picture it. The high priest in all his royal garbs. He's standing there before the Lord. And Satan is right there in his right hand. And he's going, dude, look at this guy. Are you serious? Look at this guy. Do you know what he's done? He's accusing him. And then Jesus goes, whoa, Satan, shut up. Basically, as I rebuke thee, shut up. Is this not the stick that I pulled out of the fire myself? Who are you to say anything to me? Who are you? And then we see it, right? Because now we have our defender. And then he turns around and he goes, or better yet, Ephesians 1:4 declares that before the foundation of the world, God has elected us and adopted us into his family. Before we did anything or anything, God ordained that we would be a part of his kingdom. Therefore, we don't have to be convinced of ourselves or others that we are something when we're not. Because Jesus is the one saying, this is my son. We don't have to say anything. Jesus does. Hey, shut your mouth. This is my son. I pulled him out of the fire. Now watch. He also says, is this not the brand? Which means a twig. It's a branch. That's what it means. So he's saying, is this not the little twig I pulled out of the fire? He didn't say, look at Joshua. Is this not the redwood tree that I planted? Is this not the big, massive tree oak that I planted? No, he says, this is a twig that I pulled out of the fire. Right? I love this. And then going on to verse 3. Now Joshua was clothed in filthy garments as he stood before the angel of the Lord. Did you know that even our most purest, our highest, our most treasured things are like filthy rags? Isaiah 64:6 says, but we are all as unclean things, and all our unrighteousness are as filthy rags. And we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities are like the wind, have taken us away. Filthy rags. Let me explain filthy rags to you in the old King James. They're menstrual rags. That's what filthy rags are. Nasty, disgusting, smelling. I love this imagery, man. Like, I know it's pretty vile, but I love this imagery. My sin is like a menstrual rag to God. What I like to have, that fun thing that I like to sneak around and hide, it's a menstrual rag to God. And we're keeping it. We're like, no, we like this. I want this. And he goes, it's a menstrual rag. Are you kidding me? I think it's going to start to rot and smell in a couple days. No, it's mine. I want this. It's my little secret vice, And it's a menstrual rag. So then we get into verse 4. And here's where it gets good. And he answered and spake unto those who stood before him, saying, take away. Now, mind you, we're going to back this up a little bit. Joseph, the high priest, in all his garbs, he's standing there. Satan is accusing him. He's doing blah, 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 blah. Joshua knows who he is. He's standing there. All of a sudden, it's revealed that it's just filthy rags. And he realizes this. Joshua never responds. He has his defender. His defender's doing all the talking, and so he's standing there, and look what his defender says. After he rebukes his accuser, after he makes that proclamation, this is my guy. This is the fire. This is a stick I pulled out. Then our defender says this. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, take away these filthy garments from him. And unto him I say, behold, I have caused thy iniquities to pass from thee. And I will clothe thee with a change of raiment. And I said, let him sit on the fair mitre upon set a fair mitre upon his head, so they set a fair mitre upon his head and clothed him in garments. And the angel of the Lord, as the angel of the Lord stood by. So he goes, hey, yeah, you're wearing filthy rags, man, and they stink. Hey, give me some new clothes, give me a new ring, and get him some slippers, because you know what, guys? We're not slaves. So he put shoes on him, because slaves don't wear shoes. We're no longer slaves. He took the filthy rags off, because we don't do that anymore. He said, bring me the clothes of my righteousness. And then Jesus puts on the clothes of his righteousness on him. And then he says, bring me the crown, because he's royalty. We are heirs, guys. We are joint heirs to the kingdom, which means Jesus is our older brother. Yes, king. Yes, Messiah. Yes, God. But joint heirs with him. He says, God is my Father. He says, pray like this. Our Father, which is in heaven. We are joint heirs. It's like Pastor Mike says, man, you got to adjust your crown, man. You're kind of sitting there like, like half cocked. Adjust your crown. Remember your royalty. Because here's Jesus saying, this is what we're doing now, guys. Isaiah 61:10, I will rejoice greatly in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in God. For he hath clothed me in the garments of my salvation. He has covered me in the robes of righteousness. As a bridegroom decketh himself in ornaments, and as a bride adores herself in her jewels. Salvation is not a matter of trying to be cleaning up my act or ironing out all my problems and wrinkles. It is a matter of realizing I'm a sinner and I need Jesus to robe me in the garments of his righteousness. So this is what it looks like, guys. So, actually, hold on, because I love this one. This is one of my favorite verses. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. For he hath made him to be sin for us who knew no sin, that we might be made of the righteousness of God in him. So here's what it looks like. Last week, my wife brought home some sinful, delectable. She brought me home some Oreos, okay? And I couldn't even wait to even open the bag. Like I'm a dipper. So I'm sitting there, I'm eating these Oreos, and I get about a whole row in, and I realize I haven't even ate dinner yet, but I'm going to town on them. I'm like talking to my kids. I'm like, yeah! And I do like the whole fork thing into the Oreo. So it like sits in there for a minute. I got like 2 forks going on, and I'm like popping one and going on. And I get a whole row done, and I realize like, oh no, this is not good. And then at that moment I realized, because the whole row's gone, right? Of course, my littlest comes in, and she's like, oh, Daddy, can I get a cookie? And I'm like, oh, no, not before dinner. And she sees the bag, right? She looks at it, and being the smart little 7-year-old she is, she goes, Daddy, did you already eat a whole row of cookies before dinner? And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, I got 2 options. I could lie, or I could just make up the old classic excuse, well, I'm Dad, so I could do it. I tried to go with option 3. Option C was, you know what? You see, the Oreos are like us and Jesus, you see? The Oreos are in me now. and so you can't see them, but they're still there. And she goes, that didn't work for her, by the way. So I had to sneak her a cookie, cover the tracks. But be that as it may, it gave me a really good... So, you see, the Oreo is in me. You guys can't see it. It's in me. It's in me. It's still, now it's a part of me. And when Jesus is using that same vocabulary, and he's going, hey, you are in me. So when the Father sees you, he's not seeing you, he's seeing you through me. Yeah. Through me. Yeah. You guys are all, most of you, I'm sure, fathers or grandfathers or have something in that realm. Could you imagine, for 1 minute, and I'm going to wrap this up, but could you imagine for 1 minute watching your child go through what Jesus had to go through? Could you imagine that? As they mocked him, put the bag over his head and punched him in the face, said, Who's hitting you? Prophesy. Or they plucked his beard out. All the horrific things they did to him. To be the dad. To watch all that happen. Knowing that you had to let that happen. And then somebody. And then after you get your son back, right? Because there was a moment where God had to turn away. But when they were reunited again, because that was the only time I believe in all of in iniquity that's ever happened. I'm sure at that moment in time, I know as a father I would be, if anybody did anything to my son again, it would be on. Yeah. It would be on. And so I say that, guys, because it is on. We are in a fight of our lives right now, guys. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to turn on the TV or social media to find out how disgusting this world's turning out. Amen. And in order for evil to succeed, good men simply need to do nothing. And evil will keep going. It will keep going. But God tells us that the gates of hell will never prevail against the church. Amen. Never. And God also says that until every jot and every tittle is fulfilled in the Bible, which it hasn't been done yet, it will endure. All I want to do is lock arms with you guys. Yeah. Like I've locked arms with these, with the teenagers and the young people of our church, to show them that there's a hope and a truth, that the devil is real, that he's up there, that he's accusing us before our Father, saying all the gnarly stuff that we did, but we rest inside Jesus. We rest inside of Him. So as we go before Him into the courts of law. In the heavenly scene, Satan is the persecuting attorney calling judgment upon me, pointing out all my faults within me before God, the judge of all men. But when my name comes up, I have a defense lawyer. His name is Jesus Christ, who steps up and says, Father, I died for Jason. My blood has covered his sins. He is in me. Hearing this, the Father says, case dismissed for lack of evidence. And I'm set free. Amen. Father God, we love you and we thank you so much for this opportunity, Father. We love you and we thank you so much for making us men in this amazing country that we can be free in and worship you. And Father, I pray for every single soul in this room, Lord. I pray that you would watch over them, that you would guide them, that you would reveal to them and show them all things, that they would seek after you and you would be there to reveal yourself in all your glory and all your power. That they would come to know you as God, as King, as Savior, as Lord. And Father, I pray that we would, in our lowest moments, that we would cling to your nail-pierced feet, Lord. That we would grab a hold of them and never let go. That we would know that you are the anchor. And that the storm is fastly approaching, Lord. But your anchor will hold. You are the rock of our foundation. That there is nothing that's going to move you. You are the same God in the beginning and until the end. You are unmovable and unchangeable. And that your promises are real and that they will hold through the end of the ages. Father, I thank you for the Bible. I thank you for your word. I thank you that it is that there's no error in it, that it is perfect in itself, Lord, and that the fact that you said, I hold my word even above my name. Yes. Father, thank you that I have a truth to hold in my hand, Lord, a solid, tangible truth that I can hold, Lord, and I thank you for that. I pray that your word would go out. I pray that the men in this room would go out with boldness, with power, with dunamis, to go out into this world, Lord, and be able to preach the gospel, to just in a way that makes sense to them. The way you introduced yourself to them is a way that you're going to use them to introduce it to somebody else, Lord. Whether it's a meek and mild or it's loud and obnoxious, you're going to make it work, Lord. And I thank you for No Men Left Behind. I thank you for these men. I thank you for the opportunity to come back and speak again, Lord. And I thank you for the Lamb's Fellowship. I thank you for the youth ministry. I pray for every single youth that in America, Lord, that in this world. I pray for a great revival. I pray that this attack on our children would end, Lord. I pray that you would just that you would just put your foot on this land, Lord, and just stop it. It is horrible, and they're coming down to kindergarten now, Lord. So I pray against it. I pray against the principalities and powers that are doing this evil deed against our children, Lord. And I pray that you would empower us as men to stand up and with our wives, with the women, Lord, and just say enough is enough, not our children. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Thank you, guys.